skies over Delhi are getting grayer. Not a day goes by when a banner headline in the newspaper or a top headline on a television channel isn't talking about the hazards that pollution is causing. Hospitals and doctors say that more patients than ever before are coming in complaining of respiratory disorders. And of course, governments are said to be thinking of radical steps to ensure that Delhi, for starters, topping charts when it comes to the world's most polluted cities. There's no doubt that we, of course, need these radical and long-term approach to solving pollution issues. But what are some of those answers that we could perhaps be looking at? What are the other alternate sources of energy, for instance, that we can be looking at, which will help clear our skies and hopefully clear our lungs as well? Well, that's what we are looking at. Many, of course, those startups that are now focusing on how they can jump in and clear the congestion in our streets and hopefully our lungs as well. Let me introduce my panel today. Gagan Bhatia, he's the Uber General Manager, North India. I'm also joined by Amit Singh, co-founder Shuttle. Shuttle is a bus aggregating platform. Also with me, Syed Sajjad Ahmed. He's travelled from Bangalore to Delhi in his self-made solar power car. And Samarth Wadhwa, co-founder of Sun Bazaar, India's first online solar trading ecosystem. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for taking our time to speak to us. Gagan Bhatia, if I could just start by asking you, carpooling is now become the buzzword. I know that players like you, there's also Ola, and there's so many other players now thinking of carpooling, that this now has to be a practical solution, especially if we're getting in systems like, say, the even odd car dates and all of that. How aggressively and actively are you looking at these solutions? What are some of the other solutions players like yourself can offer?
So carpooling, according to us, is actually a solution to solve the congestion problem on the roads. And this is a solution that we have implemented in over 90% of our markets abroad. And unfortunately, India is one market where we don't have the solution right now. If you think about this, think about the impact of this carpooling solution. Our goal is to connect anyone who needs a ride to someone who has a ride to offer. And the way we think about this, every vacant ride, vacant seat moving on the road is a possible ride that can be offered. That means one less car on the road, one less parking spot. That also means less congestion, less pollution.
Sure, I get that. But to all the cynics who would say, why wake up now? Why didn't we do something about it till now? What would you say?
In fact, we have been wanting to do this for the longest time. And we've been having these conversations with the government. It's enabling regulations that are missing, that have been missing.
And now you're hoping that you'll get all that sorted, given the urgency that we're now seeing?
Exactly. And we are still hoping to launch the solution, and we are working with the governments to launch a solution that can help solve the problem, and the regulations can then follow.
Right. So we'll, of course, eagerly wait for that to happen.
Absolutely.
Amit Singh, now you're looking at a bus aggregating platform. Many people say that this is going to be cost effective, it's going to be time effective, it's very practical. But we know that in our big cities, public transport has been a big letdown. We've been talking about it for years. Do you believe that that is where players like Shuttle come in?
Yeah, obviously. See, look at it from a perspective of the user. He has been, some of us have been spoiled by Ubers and Olas of the world, but there are rest of us who do not have access to those vehicles. Either they don't have cars or cabs. And these people also want to commute with dignity, and that is the solution that we are trying to solve. So 3% to 5% we leave it to Ola and Uber, but the rest of the people still need some credible alternative, and we are trying to provide that.
Right. And what's been the response so far? Because you are sort of operating in Gurgaon, I'm told.
So we are in most of the NCR, Gurgaon, Ghaziabad, Faridabad, Noida, parts of Delhi. So response is like, it's like, we are selling food to hungry people. It's like that, we couldn't have expected such good response, largely because the system is broken, the infrastructure is broken.
Right, so there is a vacuum, and you're trying to fill that vacuum. So I would imagine that that's why the response is so good. Syed Sajjad Ahmed साहब, आपने एक solar powered car बनाई है. बहुत लोग अब यही बोल रहे हैं कि we need to look at energies like, we need to look at the sun for energy in a country like India. जब हमारे पास इतना solar power है, तो हम उसका क्या कर रहे हैं? हम क्या कर रहे हैं उसका? अब क्या आपको लगता है कि जैसे आपने ये गाड़ी बनाई है, अब इसकी डिमांड आप क्या उम्मीद करते हैं? क्योंकि अब पूरी कंट्री इसी के बारे में बात कर रही है।
जी जी बिल्कुल सही। ये हजारों सालों से जो है सूरज की एनर्जी की तरफ नहीं देख रहे थे, अब ज़रूरत पड़ रही है कि पेट्रोल जा रहा है ऐसी सूरत में जो है, और पोल्यूशन बढ़ रहा है ऐसी सूरत में जो है, हर एक की ख्वाहिश होती है कि ऑटो रिक्शा, एक कार रखने का एक पैशन होता है। तो इसलिए मैंने एक इलेक्ट्रिक और सोलर की कार बनाई है, जो ये लोगों के मन को भा गई है, एक पीस ऑफ अट्रैक्शन हो गई है। तो जो मैं चाहता हूं कि इसे ये आने वाले दिनों में इसका इस्तेमाल ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा हो सकता है। जैसे कि ये 1 किलोमीटर 20 पैसा पर वर्कआउट होती है। जो भी मैं 3000 किलोमीटर का सफ़र किया हूँ, इससे मुझे अंदाज़ा लगा है कि पर किलोमीटर 25 पैसा। अगरचे हम बैटरी का डिप्रिसिएशन भी अगर लेंगे तो 75 पैसा अगर ऐड करेंगे तो 1 रुपये पर किलोमीटर में वर्कआउट हो सकती है। ये कार दूसरी कारों पर को प्राइवेट कारों को, इनको पेट्रोल कार को कंपेयर अगर करें तो 4 रुपये पर किलोमीटर वर्कआउट होता है। ऐसी सूरत में ये पेट्रोल का बचत भी होता है, बचत भी कर सकते हैं इससे, और पोल्यूशन भी नहीं रहेगा। और ये कार कई डिजाइन में बनाकर 2 सीटर हो, 4 सीटर हो, 6 सीटर हो,
बेसिकली समथिंग फॉर एवरीबॉडी। इनफैक्ट सोलर कार और इलेक्ट्रिक कार्स के बारे में ये भी बोला जा रहा है कि इनको इवन ऑड से भी एग्जेम्प्ट कर देना चाहिए, which would just mean super basically. Samarth, you know, when we met last, which was over a year or so ago, you had spoken about, very passionately if I may add, about how we just don't look at solar power as sort of intensely or aggressively or positively as we ought to.
Yes.
Over the last 1.5 years, have things changed?
Things are definitely moved for the better with Prime Minister Modi going for the International Solar Alliance, and this solar has become a buzzword. So now even the common person is interested in getting some sort of solar system installed in his or her place. And you know, there's an attraction towards solar. At least we started getting a lot of inquiries that how can we use solar in a limited budget.
Right.
So that is a great change.
Right.
So now the question is moved from that I don't have the budget to this is the budget I have, how I can incorporate solar in that.
Right.
So that is a positive aspect that has happened over the last 1.5 years.
Right. And that's of course good to know, because I mean I can see one thing that's common to everybody on the panel is that everyone's sort of trying to, like I said, plug that little vacuum that is perhaps there and quite evident. Amit Singh, if I could just come back to you, how do we, I mean the cynics will say it's okay in NCR, but look at the challenges of a city like Delhi, for instance. How do you believe that you can scale up to this point that the people of Delhi can also start using this more sort of frequently?
See, I don't see if there's any difference in the people who are staying in Gurgaon or Delhi, you know. It's the same people.
I guess the volume for you will just have to expand.
So we have to just, you know, it's an execution problem. It's not a demand problem. It's not a supply problem. It's a tough execution problem. And with technology and data sciences, we are trying to attack that. And I don't see a problem in handling Delhi in that sense, you know.
Did you have sort of a target for yourself? Have you sort of got a roadmap ready that, you know, this we do next, and then what next, if basically, if I'm trying to ask you that?
See, it's about wherever the pain is higher, we want to move there. And Delhi has a lot of pain. And we hope to focus only on Delhi for the next year or so.
I see. Okay.
And maybe, you know, take care of at least 100,000 people every day. That's the target we have for the next 12 months.
That of course would be enormous. Gagan Bhatia, there of course all the talk about shuttles being one option, carpooling being the other. Now you mentioned at the start of the program that you've been meeting people in the Delhi government to try and figure out just what to do with the public transport. Mr. Amit Singh has also been part of all of that. Now, of course, like we're seeing a political will to try and change the situation. How do you believe this will play out over the next couple of weeks and months?
I think this is a very exciting time for, you know, environmental change, because the governments are waking up that, hey, there's a problem that we need to solve. And yes, a lot of people are criticizing that, hey, the government hasn't really thought about this, but I think we have to applaud them for taking a strong step, strong first step towards what we think can be an environmental, you know, solution to an environmental problem. And all of us are part of the solution. What we see governments doing now is actively seeking a solution to the problem. They are inviting us that, hey, we want to do this, help us make this happen. And I think this is...
Do you have, are they setting you realistic deadlines?
Actually, we can do it much faster than the
I
1st
see.
January deadline.
I see.
1st January is still 20 days away. We can
I
do it
see.
much faster than
I see.
that. These carpooling has been a talk of the town for the longest time.
Right.
There are certain challenges that were there because of which it never scaled up.
And I want to get into some of the challenges, but before I get my other panelists, I want to ask both of you, is there sort of a conscious move to petrol cars?
So it's not about just petrol cars, right?
But
As I
that is
said,
a factor, right?
It
I
is a
mean,
factor.
we've been told what diesel's doing, for instance. So
if you look
does
for-
that sort of figure in the plans, or will that be something that you'll consider later?
See, our goal is, I think what Shuttle is doing, what Uber is doing, what other technology players are doing, we are just moving towards an optimum asset utilization. As long as we all do that, whether it's diesel or it's petrol, is less of a problem. Because a Euro 4, Euro 5 diesel car,
But we know that those standards are sort of fairly lax.
exactly,
Fairly lax.
and that's what we need to move towards. So
Right.
it's not a one solution to the entire problem. It has to be a multi-pronged strategy
Right.
to get
but
to the
eventually,
solve the problem.
is that a plan, or eventually will you sort
Absolutely.
of think
We
about it?
will-
Samad, would you say that this is the best time to be in the clean energy, green energy business? Because like you're saying, more people are coming out and saying, this is my budget, help me. Solar is becoming the buzzword. Increasingly, people are sort of questioning, why am I driving a diesel car? Why are you driving a diesel car? What is the electricity? Why aren't you tapping in on solar power? So would you sort of see more players in this space now?
Yes, these are definitely exciting times, especially for solar energy, because now even homeowners are moving away from their normal diesel gensets and they are going into a solar hybrid sort of a power pack system.
Right.
And I can definitely see more players coming in, especially in terms of electric vehicles and solar hybrid vehicles.
Right, right.
So though that's an exciting area which people can definitely tap into, that will help solve the pollution problem, the congestion problem, as well as diesel and petrol issues which are keep on happening.
Right.
So that is an area which is still untapped because there's only a couple of two manufacturers, I guess, who are manufacturing solar vehicles in India right now,
Right,
electric solar vehicles.
Right. Tell me one thing very quickly, which is, when I was sort of talking around at work about, things like switching cars, carpooling, using shuttles, and of course, very importantly, using solar power as well. There were certain sort of mindsets that people had about it. I mean, what are some of the more frustrating problems that you really encounter when you sort of deal with individuals and not sort of large-scale industries? When you
So
talk
basically, if I talk about solar, the main thing is upfront investment costs. So the way around is inclusive financial model and low interest cost, and easy EMI schemes for solar as well as
EMI, right.
incentivization of solar.
Right.
So those are the ways forward in terms of the government regulations have to be in those lines.